Welcome back everybody, my name is Nick930 and this is my review for the recently released Ace Combat 7 Skies Unknown. Prior to picking this game up, I really hesitated because it's been so long since I've played an Ace Combat title. But after seeing some developer diaries on Ace Combat 7 that explained what they were trying to do, and seeing the impressive work done on their cloud simulation, I decided to bite the bullet and give their latest entry to this long-lasting franchise a shot. And I'm glad I took that chance. Ace Combat 7 is a refreshing game with great focus, excellent controls, beautiful visuals, and a surprisingly interesting narrative. Now, before I get into that narrative, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil anything major here, and I'll try to focus on the basic premise with a few notes about the actor performances and structure. For those new to the Ace Combat series, Bandai Namco have decided to avoid any dicey topics regarding real-world locations and territories, and have opted for an entirely fictional conflict in a made-up world. The continents are all fictional, and the world superpowers at play here are also made up. But despite the made-up nationalities, the allies you'll be fighting alongside are all flying American-made aircraft, while the enemy is typically a combination of Russian-made weapons mixed with futuristic drone technology. The story is told through narrated cutscenes with high-quality backdrops and awkward anime-looking character models superimposed onto them. It looks fine for the most part, but now and again there's scenes like this one where the backdrops are painfully apparent, like this dog that just seems frozen in time. Generally, the voice acting is pretty good, but the writing often hurts the performances, with some cheesy dialogue and unnecessary exposition. I do like the overall story arc though. You play as Codename Trigger, a rookie member of an elite Top Gun fighting force. But after a mission goes wrong, Trigger is relocated to a run-down decoy airstrip and forced to fly with a group of ragtag outlaws in order to, as the game puts it several times, atone for your sins. It's here where you get to know a few of the characters better as they yell out in voice comms during missions and argue with Control. It's pretty cheesy overall and not necessarily the most original storytelling, but it works well for this style of game that the developers are going for. Ace Combat 7 is an arcade-based jet fighter simulation. It's not necessarily the most realistic flight simulation in gaming today, but it's realistic enough, and features a ton of great mechanics that set it apart from other games that allow you to fly these vehicles. Firstly, you can choose between two flying control schemes: the standard, simple controls, allowing you to easily change your pitch and direction with a single joystick, or the more experienced control scheme that requires you to roll your plane in pitch in order to make tight turns, similar to the flying in games like Battlefield 3 and 4. These controls immediately felt familiar, and if you're a fan of flying in those mentioned games, you'll likely love what Ace Combat 7 has to offer. Each mission takes place in completely new environments, with massive expanses of land and sea to fly over and unique objectives in each level. The game starts off with some basic dogfighting, requiring you to make tight turns and fight to get behind enemy jets for missile lock-ons, while also dodging incoming missiles with tight high-G turns. Later missions require you to engage ground targets using surface-to-ground weapons. The difficulty curve spikes significantly about halfway through the game, as the time limits for missions becomes much more strict, and the environments you're forced to fight through become significantly more treacherous. Some levels require you to take out ground targets while dodging lightning and maneuvering around tall mesas, and others require you to hunt down moving tanker trucks during a massive sandstorm with a malfunctioning radar. Each mission will test your abilities and may require a bit of trial and error as you learn the most efficient paths for taking out your targets. To help deal with the steep difficulty curve, the game will reward you with credits that can be spent on a large upgrade tree that contains both new aircraft to fly and new upgrades for them. Specific weapon upgrades need to be purchased for each individual plane, while other separate upgrades like increased maneuverability or faster reload times can be applied to one of 10 available upgrade slots. The gameplay and the game's mechanics all feel incredibly well polished. Everything is where it should be, and I found myself encouraged to keep pushing through the game's campaign to unlock new aircraft and explore new mission challenges. Upon completing the game, you're given the opportunity to replay these missions and continue to earn points to improve your arsenal, allowing you to set higher scores and acquire better end mission ratings. It's an old school format for a video game, and one that has been surprisingly rare this console generation, despite it still feeling great. The multiplayer on the other hand feels a bit outdated. The main game mode right now is called Battle Royale, which, contrary to what you might think, is not Battle Royale. It's simply a team deathmatch mode where two teams of jets dogfight and respawn if they get killed. It's disappointingly shallow, and the only interesting aspect of it is the fact that you can bring your own upgrades from the single player to the jets in the multiplayer, encouraging you to learn all the mechanics offline before you start to play online. I feel a full cooperative mode would have suited this game much better, especially considering the AI in the game's single player are completely useless. They almost never help you complete objectives, especially when it comes to dealing with ground targets, making the more time-oriented missions increasingly frustrating, especially when you see your friendly aircraft circling over a target on the opposite side of the map while your timer is down to the last minute. Having a group of 2 to 4 players work together in these missions, maybe with an increased amount of enemy aircraft, would have been a great way to take this classic franchise into the modern era, and it just seems like a huge missed opportunity. However, the game makes up for this with its beautiful visual design. Ace Combat 7 features high-resolution vehicle models and some incredible special effects. Explosions look great, especially after destroying massive fuel depots on the ground, and the environments and enhanced geometry lend themselves to one of the most impressive Ace Combat presentations to date. But one of the most impressive graphical features in Ace Combat 7 are the volumetric clouds. Since the entirety of the gameplay experience will take place in the air, clouds were made to be a top priority and function exactly how they should, with specks of rain hitting your windshield as you fly through them, and extended time flying through them can risk freezing your vehicle and stalling it. Large storm systems serve as a beautiful backdrop and a challenging obstacle at the same time. Lightning will light up nearby cloud systems and cast shadows realistically, while also causing devastating malfunctions. The clouds in Ace Combat 7 contribute a great deal to the feel of the game and add much more variety to the aerial combat. Ace Combat 7, with the exception of a few low-resolution environments that you'll only notice if you happen to smash right into the ground, looks incredible, but unfortunately it does come at a cost to performance. While the game targets 60 FPS on consoles, the only one that seems to really handle it well is the Xbox One X, and even then, the One X fails to deliver solid performance in some of the more demanding levels. The PC version is yet to release yet, so I haven't had a chance to test that, but assuming the port is executed well, that may be the way to go if you have the choice. Overall, Ace Combat 7 is a surprisingly fun experience. The game's campaign is lengthy and offers excellent difficulty pacing, and there's plenty of variety to keep something with such potential to get repetitive continuously interesting. And the game's story, while still admittedly pretty cheesy, was interesting enough to not want to skip. I think the game's multiplayer could use some work, as it currently just doesn't seem like something I want to spend more time with, but it's still there for players that want a real challenge. I just wish they had included some form of campaign co-op. If you're big into graphics, Ace Combat 7 features plenty to impress, especially with its excellent volumetric cloud simulation. The game performs decently enough on all platforms, though if you're playing on consoles, expect the framerate to drop in the more dense environments. I think for $60, Ace Combat 7 may be asking for a bit much, despite its solid design and campaign experience, only because so many other games nowadays feature so much more. But if you're big into aerial combat, then this game is absolutely worth picking up. Thank you all for watching, and if you want to learn more about Ace Combat 7 and more of this year's biggest games, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos posted every week.